Welcome to the Thrive in Design podcast, the show for interior product brands ready to turn insight into action. I'm your host, Nicole Lashae Hall, founder of Thrive in Design. Each week, we explore how manufacturers, marketers, and sales leaders can align strategy, storytelling, and systems to drive real specification growth. This podcast is about moving beyond scattered marketing, outdated sales tactics, and visibility for visibility's sake, and into clarity, alignment, and momentum. Whether you're navigating change, scaling thoughtfully, or rethinking how your brand shows up in the design industry, you're in the right place. Welcome back to another impactful episode of the Thrive in Design podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Lashae Hall, CEO and founder of Thrive in Design, where we help interior product companies grow their brand and revenue through human-centered strategy and design. Today, I'm excited to welcome Kate Rancourt, Director of Customer Insights and Growth at One Workplace. Kate is a human-centered innovator and learning-led leader who specializes in connecting insight to action. She thrives at the intersection of strategy, design, and facilitation, helping teams see patterns others miss, ask better questions, and translate complexity into meaningful progress. In today's rapidly evolving workplace landscape, Kate is exploring one of the most transformative forces impacting our industry, artificial intelligence. From shifting how we design physical spaces to defining how sales teams prepare for stakeholder conversations, AI is no longer just a tool. It's becoming a collaborator. In this episode, we'll explore how AI is changing not just efficiency, but the work itself. We'll unpack how sales professionals, marketers, and leaders in the design industry can use AI to strengthen relationships, prepare for high-stakes conversations, create better messaging, and ultimately turn data into deals. If you've been wondering whether AI will replace you or how to actually use it to grow your accounts, this conversation is your starting point. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Kate.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Kate, you and I connected a couple of years ago through LinkedIn, and I think it was initially about AI, and we just had a conversation over Zoom, and now I'm excited to have you on the show. Before we dive into the topic and all the scenarios we have mapped out today, walk us through your journey in the design industry and what initially drew you to this space.
Yeah. So I am originally from Virginia, and I studied interior design at Radford University. And I started my career, as a little baby interior designer at a design firm specializing in higher education. And what just hooked me really early on, sort of moving from, the educational theory to professional practice, was truly realizing the power of design and shaping human behavior and shaping human experience.
Yeah.
And so I was just hooked from then on and was at that interiors firm in Virginia for 5 years or so. I earned my NCIDQ. You go through those first years. And then I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, and I joined One Workplace. And I'm still there today. And I started there in education and kind of bounced around and moved to different market segments and different roles. But that gave me a lot of exposure to sort of a systems view of our industry, of our very complex industry that we're
complex, in. Very complex. I want to write a book on the complexities of our industry.
It would be a long one.
Maybe a series. And so now today you are the Director of Customer Insights and Growth at One Workplace. What does your role entail? What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So today my job is to really study where our markets are shifting and identify opportunities sort of before they bubble up to the surface and become really obvious. So I spend a lot of time interviewing clients and, across real estate and our customer sites, like IT leaders, HR leaders, facility leaders, really to understand in this very complex industry, where are their pain points along the way? And sometimes that, means repositioning how we are selling to them. Sometimes it means packaging all of our services that we offer in a different way that's helping to solve a different pain point. And occasionally it also might mean launching something entirely new and incubating a brand new idea. So my goal is to really connect insight to revenue in a way that's grounded in real customer desires and needs.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I just had another podcast interview. You guys want to check out episode 2 with Cheryl Durst from IIDA. We were talking about design futurism and how important it is to understand all of these insights and connect the dots to
That's right.
what you're doing, what you're
That's
doing
right.
to the revenue. So let's get into like what that actually looks like in terms of going from taking this insight and then putting it into action. How have you developed that skill set over time?
Yeah, it is a skill set to be developed, which is great because that means anyone can do it and learn it. I've always been fascinated by where like marketing and sales and design intersect. So if you kind of like visualize, right, a Venn diagram of all three of those things coming together, insight without activation doesn't move the business, right? It doesn't make you money. You're aware of a lot of things happening, but you need to monetize that. You need to, act on that. And so I've built this habit, and I feel One Workplace has built this habit of asking, okay, what does this change? How does it change how we position or show up in the market? How does this change the need? Does it change the customer? Does it change the time frame? And so we're really good at analyzing, how does this impact our day to day? What does this mean for real people in real projects in real time? So I love the role because it's more than studying, like what color trends are hot in 2026, right? It's like, what are real human needs that we can go find and then maybe help solve for?
Yeah, I love that. I might have to have you back for another episode to dive deeper just into that topic.
I'd love to be back.
It's very interesting, honestly, because especially on like the manufacturer side or the dealer side, I don't see too many. There might be like far and few in between that are being that analytical of changes, like on micro or macro level, and then taking that insight and turning it into strategy on how you're going to market, how you're selling. I don't see that happening too much, especially somebody who's worked in sales for some pretty big manufacturers. They're like, leadership is usually like, okay, here's what we're selling. Here's your sales goals. Go.
Yeah.
But not a lot of times have I seen it, at least in my experience. I won't speak for everybody in the industry. Companies saying, let's look at the insight. Let's take that insight into real tangible strategy that is going to turn into revenue growth and change not only our company, but like make an impact on the industry and the humans behind it. So that's another episode. But today we're here to talk about AI.
to be continued. Nicole.
I know. Okay, so let's talk about AI because it's shaping the world in a lot of different ways. It has probably changed immensely since the last time we talked a few weeks ago. For you, when was the first time AI became more than just like a buzzword?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, AI is not a new phrase, and it's not artificial intelligence as an official field of study was like, in the 50s. Yeah. So it dates back, decades ago. But for me, it became very real in around 2022 when we started. There was a group of us in One Workplace, and we were starting to see these tools that were really meaningful and how they were popping up and how we were seeing some of the deliverables from these AIs that we immediately knew they were going to impact how we design, how we sell, how we communicate. And really, because our headquarters is in the Bay Area, like we were surrounded by these startups who were making these organizations and these large language models. And so it was actually like really hard not to notice that this was happening just because of our proximity. So instead of, resisting it, we had a small group of people who were like, okay, let's lean in, like, let's get uncomfortable.
Early adopters.
Yeah, time to test out new things. And so I actually think we were very privileged in that way to be in such close proximity because it allowed us to, I think, accept the, I don't know, energy of experimentation a little bit earlier than maybe some other people.
Yeah. And then what did that early experimentation look like for you guys? And how has it evolved, I guess?
We were working on a project, and one of the very first tools that our team started to experiment on was text to graphic or visual output. And we were working with Discord's Midjourney.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few of us who were like, okay, let's download this thing. Let's figure out what a prompt is and how to write one. And we just started, it was like little kids in a sandbox. And we were like, look what I created and and it was really fun and engaging. I think we made it into a fun and engaging way so that we could experiment freely. And I immediately was like, oh, this is different. Yes, the visuals that we were getting from, high level concepts that we were trying, they were impressive. But for me, it was the speed at which it was happening that really made me pause and say, this is a different tool.
Yeah.
This is a different way of being a designer or salesperson or, and so that's where we started to realize the power of AI.
Yeah, speed. It actually just had this flashback, as you said that, to design school and rendering on Revit. And anytime we would render something very complex, it was like you just like put a sheet of paper over the computer so that nobody came to your computer because it would take hours
Yes.
to render the idea that you thought about, right? And so
That's
now
right.
we have artificial intelligence that's speeding up everything. Now I haven't used Revit since 2012, so I don't know the speed of it now. But I literally just had a flashback to that and just thinking about the speed of things with AI now. Now, since that first experimentation for you guys, how has the adoption of AI evolved with One Workplace?
Yeah, I think what's dynamically shifted has been, using these like large language models that are in the public domain to work on projects. Now, the specific tools that we already use in our workflow, like email and like, our CRM system for sales, AI is starting to make its way into those tools. And that's happening with design, that's happening with sales. And so it's actually being integrated in all of our workflow. It's not like we need to go seek it out. It's there.
Yeah.
So it's invasive. It's everywhere. I know many people who are listening are like, yeah, I can't brush my teeth without like, hey, would you like AI to help you with da 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 da? You're like, no, I just want to brush my teeth.
Right.
So it's pervasive and it's almost in every tool that we're using now.
I love it. And one thing that we also talked about was really like you guys are early adopters, right? It's in every part of what you're doing. But a lot of people are out there thinking they're still scared of AI, right? They're like, I'm scared of this. Is it going to replace me? Is it going to take my job? Right? There's all of these common fears and questions. So When we initially talked about this a few weeks ago, you suggested reframing that question entirely. So instead of making, will AI replace us? What is the better question professionals should be asking?
Yeah. I don't want to dismiss that question because it's a valid question, and I understand why people feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a real fear. So I want to normalize that.
Absolutely.
And I think a more interesting question, or just a mindset shift that we can all make, is asking, what part of my job is uniquely human?
Mm.
And, knowing that AI can draft emails, summarize specs, it can't build trust over a lunch. It can't, right, recover from a slip up on like a misspec in a project. It can't read the tension in a room. So the opportunity is to use AI for the things that aren't uniquely human, so you can double down on the part of sales or design or whatever your role is that are human, relationship driven, and like instinct, intuition, experience based.
Right.
And I think that the people who will, be on top as this radical change is happening around us is the people who use AI to sharpen their human side instead of thinking about it totally replacing, certain things in our jobs.
Yeah. And I'm curious if you guys had any fears internally, like from your employees, as you were early adopters of AI, as you continuously integrate it into your process, whether that be sales and design. Did you have any friction? Like, oh no, what is this?
The amount of conversations that we had with IT and HR and each other, and, absolutely had fear, anxiety, ethical based questions, right? Around some of the impact on climate that some of these, really powerful systems have. So we had them then, we still have them today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why we are still very critical of AI is we are prioritizing speed to market, speed to new models, speed to new over everything else.
Yeah.
Right? Over safeguards. I mean, you read the news, you're seeing some of these negative impacts that are happening. So yes, we were absolutely critical and still are. And I think it's still very healthy to be critical of AI.
Yeah, I wanted to take a moment to point that out because I feel like a lot of times, especially if I'm having AI conversations on this podcast, I'm like, here are all the great benefits of AI, but we have to show the other side too, right?
Absolutely.
What are the reluctances? What are people reluctant about? What stakeholders internally are having the conversation? Like you just said, there's HR, there's IT, and all these different players. People are thinking about the environmental impact, etc. So for those of you who are listening, as you're like, okay, Kate in one workplace, they were early adopters, and we might want to start adopting AI different from what's already in our tools like Gmail, etc. There's okay to be a little reluctant. It's okay to be a little scared. But today, at least for this episode, we want to give you some like bite-sized things to take away to feel comfortable with like implementing AI into your daily task. If you're responsible for protecting what already works, your reps, your relationships, your investments, clarity matters. Spec Ready is a specification readiness assessment for interior product brands. It shows you whether your current positioning, messaging, and sales tools still support how designers make decisions today and where things may be at risk. It's not about changing everything. It's about reinforcing what matters before gaps cost you specifications. And if you want context on why the industry is shifting, especially around AI, the AI in Design Summit offers practical, business-aligned insight without hype or pressure. That's specready.co and tidsummit.com. Another thing that I want to talk about too is that sometimes people go to AI and they prompt it, right? So now we use this word prompt all the time. And we're like, oh, yes, we're going to go to ChatGPT. We're going to go to Claude and we're going to prompt it. Before we go into like how prompting can actually turn into like garbage or gold, really, break down like in layman's terms what actually a prompt is, because somebody might not know that. Kate.
I love that. So a prompt for AI is, giving the AI information of what you want it to do. AI is wildly ready to serve you enthusiastically, right? Like a lot. If you've ever used it, it can be really verbose. It can be just real. It's there to please. And I like to, as we're going to make our way into, maybe some examples, prompting sounds very like AI driven, right? I'm going to prompt my tool to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think about it as a conversation with a colleague. When you make the mindset shift from AI is my minion who does my bidding to AI is a colleague who's trying to help me succeed, you start to understand why that shift in mindset matters when we're about to talk about like the structure of how you might create these conversations with AI, just like you would a colleague. So I think because it's an AI, we think I'm just going to give it commands and it's going to do what I want it to do, when we would never talk like that to a colleague. We would never expect that type of engagement with a colleague. So when we make that mindset shift, I think all of that sort of starts to click into place. We get higher quality output from AI, et cetera.
Yeah. And that just goes into what we were talking about before in our conversation of like defining the role of AI, right? So you said switching the mindset of thinking, okay, AI is my minion. I'm going to tell it what to do, to thinking, okay, AI is my colleague. And I'm a firm believer of that. I've made custom GPTs and they have names in my org chart. Like we have Lauren, we have Maya, we have Lucy. So, and I give them names because I literally talk to them like they are people, but they are custom GPTs that are integrated into how we work as a company. The other thing you just said was around like providing context, right? Rather than saying like, I want you to do this, it's important to give context and clear instructions in that prompt so that you can be clear about like what desired output that you want. For you, Kate, do you talk to AI with like, so when I'm prompting AI, for example, I'll say, you are acting as XYZ, right? You're acting as my CMO, for example. And then I give them context. We are working on the promotion and content calendar for the podcast, season 9. I give them clear instructions and then I tell them the output. I want you to help me, develop the marketing strategy, content calendar, etc. But I usually do, before you do that, can you please ask me questions to fill in any gaps? Are you using it like that?
Yes. I love that you said that. I think one of the most powerful things that you could do contextually for AI is to ask, what other context is missing that would be helpful for you to know as you craft this response?
Yes.
Or are there any details that you need that would make your response higher quality for me? Before it gives you a response, then it will come back and say, you know what? Timeline would be really interesting to know here because XYZ. Once you give me the time frame and the scheduling of this, then I'll craft my response based on that.
Yes.
So just like a colleague, where you would ask, what questions do you have for me before you go off and do this thing? It's the same with AI. What context is missing here that helps you compute your response in a more meaningful way?
Absolutely. So let's get practical and specific, specifically for our industry. I want to walk through 3 types of scenarios, especially since you're in workplace. You guys are doing sales, design, marketing. You're at the center of it all in your specific segment. So imagine a sales rep or business development leader wants to strengthen their LinkedIn presence to attract new accounts. Walk us through how you would structure a prompt to create strategic LinkedIn content or all the things. Like tell us how you would do that.
Yeah, let's get tactical. I love this. So I think I'd start again by defining the role and the audience. So for example, act as a strategic LinkedIn content advisor for commercial product sales rep. You're starting to probably hear, maybe some listeners, like the specificity of that is so helpful for the AI to know. So get really specific. And then, clarify your target. My goal is to attract facilities directors at healthcare systems with over 500 employees in Seattle, Washington, right? That's really helpful for the AI to know. And then define the objective. Why are you posting on LinkedIn, right? Why LinkedIn? I want to position myself as a trusted advisor, not just a product vendor, right? And then you ask for the output. So I think we automatically usually go to the output. Help me write a LinkedIn post that's under 25 words,
Yep.
The role, the context, the goal that you're trying to hit is really helpful. So then at the end, give me 3 post ideas and 1 sample post that's under 100 words. The specificity, the context, your goal of what you're trying to do, if you actually interact with AI in that way, you have more clarity about why you're posting on LinkedIn and why it matters. So it actually helps your frame of mind of, am I just posting on LinkedIn to post on LinkedIn? Or what is my goal here? Am I trying to get sales leads, right? So again, that's a really quick kind of example of how you might prompt AI.
Yeah, I love how you broke that down, right? And it's so practical for somebody to just take this prompt that you just said, go put it into ChatGPT or put it into Claude and do something about it. But it's also important to understand like the why of this example, right? The reason that I said this example specifically is because of how important social selling is for sales reps or business development leaders in our industry right now. So many times, people in sales in our industry will lead with the product. And of course, we're here for the product, right? We need to specify the product. The product needs to be purchased and installed in the project. But we are a people first business, and social selling, it helps sales leaders sell, like, I think it's 74% more than their counterparts if they're not selling social selling. And that data comes from LinkedIn as well as other platforms. So that's the why behind this. Because when I want people to hear this and they're like, okay, I want to adopt AI, I'm going to do this prompt. I also want you to understand the importance of why you are doing it. Do you want to sell more? First of all, do you want to sell more? Okay. Selling more means social selling and positioning yourself as a people first to make these authentic connections. How do you amplify that and make it easier and faster for yourself? Use this prompt that Kate just said in this example. So I just wanted to stop and say that. All right, let's talk about another scenario that we previously discussed in terms of having difficult conversations. Now, in our industry, in business development, marketing, sales, you're always having difficult conversations with stakeholders. So give us an example of what that might look like and how you can prompt AI to prepare for difficult conversations.
Yeah, I love this example because we can all sometimes, we've all been in that conversation where we're on our heels. And we like, especially in sales, you don't want to be caught on your heels and trying to defend. And so I might use AI in this way to, anticipate reaction to things that I'm trying to convey, either to a teammate or a client or a partner. I'll have a conversation with AI and say, act as my seasoned professional coach. I need to address a performance issue with a high performing team member, but one who is usually very defensive. Then I'll provide context. Here's what happened. Here's the outcome. Like, here's what I'm concerned might happen. And then here's the outcome I'm hoping for. I hope to walk away from this conversation with X. Help me craft an empathetic and firm narrative that I can share in this 30-minute meeting. And I will very rarely use that script verbatim, right? Like, you don't want to enter a difficult conversation like reading something from AI. But what it helps to do is anticipate, right, that conversation before it's emotionally charging. Mm-hmm. And so it helps you kind of regulate, like, okay, this person is probably going to come with this question or this attitude. And so it's like, it's sort of that practice run that you can do. And it's ironic that you can do it with AI, not a person. You can you can certainly do it with people as well. But you can use AI to say, what language do I want to avoid here so that this person doesn't feel defensive? Yeah. And it's a really great way to like have that run through before the real difficult conversation.
Yes, listen, I think that is practical knowledge and prompting for every leader, like no matter the industry, because I actually need to have a difficult conversation in the next like week or so. And I'm going to be using your example as I'm like preparing for that, right? Because on either side, whether it's the person that has to initiate the difficult conversation or the person on the receiving end, it's difficult either way, right? Exactly. On my end, I'm like nervous. I'm non-confrontational, right? On the other end, I might be putting in attributes about the person that I have to talk to. So I'm looking forward to using this insight that you taught me, right? Because I haven't used AI like this before, but I'm looking forward to using it as a leader for sure. All right. And so another part of our industry is winning new accounts, right? In the first example, we talked about just positioning yourself as like in social selling and as a thought leader on LinkedIn to attract new accounts. But another part of that is winning new accounts and preparing for those interactions or presentations with stakeholders. And this is where like data to deals come in. I know you talked a lot about like the research that you do to understand all of the different touch points and how you can turn that data into actual revenue. But tell me a little bit how AI comes into that process for you. How are you using it for that particular instance?
Yeah, I regularly meet with and interview and interact with people and personas that I might not have ever interacted with before. And so, especially in selling, when you're going into a conversation with someone, or if it's a pitch, you want to know like what's important to that person, right? What's important to that stakeholder. And so I will use AI to help me prepare for that engagement with someone who I'm not maybe familiar with their pain points, their desires, like what's usually most important to them. So I might prompt AI to say, act as an expert sales strategist in commercial interiors. I'm meeting a principal at a small award-winning, architecture firm who specializes in healthcare. I represent this product line that's known for durability, and help me refine a pitch that aligns with what matters most to this person, right? And so some of the contextual details that you can enter into that conversation is, here are the objections I usually hear about my product. Here's what differentiates my product from my competitors. Here's what, stage our relationship is in with this new person. And you would be surprised. I mean, certainly people aren't monoliths, and what super matters to this A&D principle might not matter to this A&D principle, but that's where the context comes in, right? Small, award-winning healthcare in Des Moines who is working on this project, right? Again, the context and the more information that you can give AI, the better output it's going to be able to give you. And again, this is where your humanness comes into the conversation, because sometimes your intuition will tell you that that's maybe not the right approach. Yeah. And so go with your instinct, go with your experience, use your human critical thinking skills to determine whether that's a good approach or not. But you can certainly brainstorm with AI, right?
Yeah. You just said a key term there, critical thinking, right? Because I feel like we also see that people lean so much on AI that they don't use their critical thinking. But I think the best outputs come from you continuously sharpening your critical thinking, using your critical thinking in collaboration with AI. So hopefully those of you who are listening, you're like, okay, I feel a little bit better. I'm walking away with 3 prompts on how I can apply this to myself or my team today to move forward, and not getting swept up in the rapid change that's happening in AI every single day, because it can be overwhelming and paralyzing. But before we close out, Kate, I want to know, what is just one mindset shift that you want leaders to walk away with after this conversation?
Yeah, for a long time, I said, and maybe I even said it to you in our first conversation, AI is just another tool.
Yeah.
It's just another tool, right? Yeah. I don't believe that anymore. And, because it's not a calculator. It's not Excel. It's not PowerPoint. AI learns and adapts and synthesizes and generates in ways that our previous tools haven't done before. And so that requires a different level from us of literacy and responsibility. And that doesn't mean we have to panic. It just means, to your earlier point, we've got to use our critical thinking skills and engage with AI really thoughtfully. So leaders who really understand, the power of AI, the risks of AI, will shape how it's integrated into our industry. We need to continue to be critical. Yeah. We need to continue to push on safety and regulations. When you're about to use AI, read the terms and conditions of what they are doing with your data. Stay critical, and don't let that keep you on the sidelines. Stay critical and experiment. Yeah. Stay a skeptic and still use it to see how it can help you. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Absolutely. And honestly, AI is getting so smart that it could teach you how to use it. Right?
That's right.
Teach me how to best use you. I downloaded Claude the other day, and that was a new platform for me. So I was like, can you let me know how best we can work together, please? And teach me 5 steps right now that I can implement.
And in that way, so I think one of the mindset shifts, really to your question, is, AI from a minion to a colleague. And in that way, different AI systems have different strengths and weaknesses, just like team members do. So a really great experiment that you can go try right now is create one prompt and use 4 different large language models to get 4 different results. See which ones you like better. See which ones, like, do one that's more strategic. Have a prompt that's more visual in nature. Have a prompt that's more financial and numbers driven. See which models do better in which lanes. And that can also help you think about it in terms of a colleague. Like, Claude is really good at this. ChatGPT, I like to use for this. And so I think the magic of AI is really the intersection of how you can use some of those tools together and not so much in a silo. So, use one prompt, put it in 4 different AIs, and just see what happens. See how they differentiate.
All right. So before we close out, let's give them that 4, right? Because people know ChatGPT. People might have heard of Claude. What's 2 other ones that you can lead them to?
Yeah, one of my really favorites at the moment, again, this could change like literally this afternoon or tomorrow.
Right.
But Anthropic's Claude is really one of my favorites that I'm using right now, and they seem to have better safeguards at present moment. Google's Gemini is another one, and they have a company, Nano Banana, which sounds wild, but that helps.
My new favorite.
Presentations. OpenAI's ChatGPT, that is probably one of the most pervasive ones that people kind of started to use. And then Discord Midjourney for visuals. So also don't use it just for text, but try different AIs that specialize in text to video or text to image outputs, because we need visuals and presentations and different outputs than just words sometimes.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you shared all of those. I just tested out Nano Banana for one of my, for like a client deliverable the other day, and my mind was blown. Like, blown.
It is getting so good. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. I'm going to have you back on the show to talk about the first topic we started with at the top of the episode. But I'm sure people are walking away like feeling more comfortable with adopting AI, or at least prompting better, so that they can be better sellers, be better leaders, and ultimately win more sales. So, Kate, if anybody wants to connect with you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, well, please visit our website, One Workplace. We are really we just turned 100 last year.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
so
crazy.
We've been around for a while. We started as a office supply company. We sold office supplies. We then evolved and graduated into a furniture dealership that has been aligned with Steelcase. And now we're this orchestrator of design and of workplaces, healthcare, education, and government projects with furniture and technology and architectural systems and all of those services that help get it done. So please come check us out. Find me on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with anybody and talk about AI. I think, again, I'm not an expert, and I think, it should give us pause when someone says they are an AI expert.
Absolutely.
Because it changes hourly. So let's talk about it. Like, talking about it also helps. And so I welcome any, messages, or what are you using now? I love those conversations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kate. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
If today's episode sparked ideas, the next step is giving those ideas structure. Spec Ready is Thrive in Design's strategic framework designed to help interior product brands show up clearly, align marketing and sales, and become easier to specify without adding more noise or complexity. You can learn more at specready.co. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, be sure to follow the podcast and check out the show notes for links, resources, and ways to get in touch with our team. Thanks for listening to the Thrive in Design podcast. I'll see you next time.